It's now time for the Billy C. Show, part of the BillyCBoxing.com network.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show, she's being brought to you in part by the Title Bout Championship computer game. If you're looking for a simulation game, put the old timers against the new timers, or put different weight classes against you or your favorite fighters, you want the Title Bout. Just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Title Bout banner, which is kind of hard to find. So if you want to just go direct, just go to TitleBoutBoxing.com. That's TitleBoutBoxing.com. Make sure you tell them Billy C sent you. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by the Southern Gourmet Spice Company. Check out the Kenny Bears, my favorite barbecue rub. And don't forget about the other two new spices, which I happen to love. I love the Cajun spice and, of course, the seasoned salt. So make sure you get yourself some of that. All you got to do is visit southerngourmetspice.com and tell them Billy C sent you. And, of course, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Badass Men and Plan, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can get a copy of this book right now. I mean, like right now. Like right friggin' now. All you got to do is go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com and get yourself a copy. If you're looking to get a signed copy, just drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. A couple of things I want to go over, and I want to break down the Luis Ortiz and Andy Ruiz fight, which is scheduled for this weekend. But first, joining me right now, my main man, Alex Papali. What's up, Alex?
Good evening, Billy C. How are you?
I'm doing good, my man. I'm doing good. How you doing? How you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, I'm trying not to get too excited about this fight because I don't want to buy it.
You know, all of those Al Heyman, you know, he was going to save boxing. He was going to bring it all for free. Everything, you got to pay for everything. Even the Wilder fight, which I'm going to talk about here in a second, you got to pay for that. And the Ruiz fight's on Sunday.
Yeah, I know, it's weird.
Yeah, the good thing football's not going on. They'd get nobody buying it, you know.
Yeah.
But
remember Monday nights? I remember Tyson used to fight on Monday nights in Atlantic City, and I think even Foreman versus Cooney, I think, was a Monday night.
I think Tyson fought one time on a Monday night. Wasn't that the fight in Japan?
No, that was a Saturday night. That was a regular old HBO because it was like noon. It was the afternoon in Japan, but over here it was like 10 p.m. at night.
Anyway, some things I just wanted to touch on real quickly. This past weekend, Top Rank had a heavyweight explosion card, and it pretty much was an explosion. All the fights ended in quick knockouts, and first and foremost, Gerard, the real Big Baby, not to be confused with the regular Big Baby, Anderson improved to 12-0 with 12 knockouts when he stopped Majan Rokananen, who dropped to 24-3. 3 minutes in the second round. You know, on paper, this fight looked pretty good, but I guess they all did. And like my man Marty Mulcahy, he said they were all mismatches, and they really were. For anybody that doesn't pay attention. You can't always go. Yeah, and I try to tell this to the kids today, Alex. You can't go by the records, because the Serbian Stallion, which was Miljan's nickname, 24-2 going into this fight. And obviously it didn't happen to help him much against Anderson. The 2020 Olympic super heavyweight silver medalist, Richard Torres, he looked pretty good in the 44 seconds it took him to improve to 3-0 with 3 knockouts. He took out Marco Antonio Condado, who dropped to 4-3. And Effie Ajagba,
that guy.
Yeah, I know. Effie Ajagba, who busted out onto the scene, then lost, and he kind of, I was glad to see him make his return. 16-1 now. He too knocked out Joseph with a Z, Darmos in 1 minute 15 seconds of second round. 14-5-3 now for Darmos. And a local kid on the card, Jeremiah Milton, improved to 6-0 with 5 knockouts when he took out Nick Jones, who dropped to 9-5. One other fight I wanted to mention, Alex, is Victor Forst. He's a German fighter. He improved to 10-0 when he scored an 8-round unanimous decision over former world title challenger Kevin Kingpin Johnson. Now, Kevin Johnson has become one of those journeyman gatekeepers. And although he's, has no problem taking an L anymore, he's now his record's 35-21-1. This guy knows how to fight. He really does. And it's a shame that he didn't take the other road. He became kind of a lazy fighter, but he's a good defensive fighter. And to get a win over him, despite seeing 21 losses, Alex, I think is good. I think this is another one of those German heavyweights we should keep an eye on. I mean, to beat Kevin Johnson, for a young fighter, that's saying a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, as much as he's pretty much way over the hill, he's still, is a credible name. And I think in the sense that, he's one of those journeyman type heavyweights. And actually one of those type of fighters passed away either today or last night. Bigfoot Martin,
yeah.
Who was often, lost by decision, but you couldn't stop him. Maybe you could drop him, but you couldn't put him away. A couple of guys did, but has a lot of names. Fought as Billy C would say, this guy fought everybody.
Yeah.
And Kevin Johnson has now gotten to that point where maybe he's lost, but he's lost by decision, or he's been in there with just about everybody in the sport. And he has a good barometer to see, because he does have he always had a great jab.
He became a lazy fighter, but he's got a good jab. Fundamentally, he's a sound fighter, but he's got a granite chin. He doesn't get stopped. I think he's only been stopped twice in his career, but I think boxing misses these kinds of guys, and this is why, because records are so overblown and built up that we just talked about it with the heavyweight fights that Top Rank put on last week. You can't go by the records. I tried telling this to younger boxing fans, and they just don't get it. Their heads, they hard as a rock, But the truth of the matter is those guys really help young fighters develop, and this is where England and the UK in general bypasses the United States in boxing, because they have those fighters and they let them fight. Some of the commissions, in all due respect to promoters and management and fighters, some of the commissions don't let these kinds of guys fight. The same reasons I'm complaining about the fan. The commission looks at the losses and they go, oh, no, you can't fight, especially New York. It's like, oh, no, you can't fight. You can't fight that guy. He's got too many losses. And they're not really looking at the fighters. It's just not being knowledgeable enough, Alex, across the board.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, because if you had looked carefully at the record of the guy who ends up getting knocked out, face first into the canvas there, Marco Antonio, what is it, Catano?
Yeah.
He had been knocked out his last 3 times in the ring. So
That's a different story.
That's the thing, is that the number of a record doesn't tell you as much as going through and looking at. That's why if you look at guys like Everett, Bigfoot Martin, or Kevin Johnson, you end up seeing, okay, yeah, he might have double-digit losses, but let's take a look at these losses. Oh, wow. He went 8 rounds with this guy, former champion. He went 10 rounds with this guy, another former titleist. So that's the thing. You got to look at it. But because there's always the flip side where you look at the record. Oh, wait, he was stopped in 2 3 months ago. And then he was stopped again in 5 6 months ago. So I mean,
that's where I don't disagree with the commission if they look that deep. You can't just go by the wins and losses, and sometimes they do. But
yeah, I think you're right that promoters definitely sell it, because think about it. If I was going to say they're going by the fight poster, if there even are fight posters anymore. Maybe it's digital now. It's a fight ad, and you might see the records, right? And then the record there, it means something. Oh, no, this guy's 31-1. Oh, cool.
But when you don't see the record and you see a description like the battling such and such, okay, But so I guess Tyson Fury has officially unretired. They are negotiating. I said it on our Usyk post-fight show, the Anthony Joshua and Usyk post-fight show. I knew that they were going to fight. People asked me. I said it's going to happen sooner than later, if not the end of this year. Within 1 year is what I said, and I think it's going to happen sooner than later. And I'm pretty happy about that, Alex. What's your quick thoughts?
Oh, me too. And yeah, I am very excited that it seems like, and I think as much as people say, oh, the best don't fight the best anymore. That's not true at heavyweight.
When the fighters push for it, it happens.
Yeah, at heavyweight, we have really been enjoying the best fighting the best. Maybe there's a little cul-de-sacs every now and then where they get rid of a mandatory, or they fight. You might have a few. But see, even those bouts are interesting. So I do think that these guys are all fighting each other. The top names at heavyweight are fighting each other, and that is great. I wish it was happening at welterweight, and I wish it was happening at lightweight.
But this is where we got to give the fighters credit, because Tyson Fury has been a guy that wanted, and he's proven it, that he wants to fight the best fighters out there. And Usyk now is doing the same exact thing. The other weight classes have a tendency to say the old, I'll fight whoever my promoter tells me to fight. That's a cop-out, because damn well, as much as I do, and most boxing fans know, that if a fighter really wants to fight, they'll make it happen. You know what I mean? I mean, they may cry and kick and scream for more money, but they'll make it happen. And that's one thing I like about Eddie Hearns. He does seem to want to make the fights. And that's important. And speaking of the potential Fury Usyk fight, another indicator that it's going to happen sooner than later is the WBO just announced that Joe Joyce and Joseph Parker, that fight will be for their interim title, which means that they're getting, not that I give a crap about interim titles, but it's just a political move that says, okay, we'll let you defend. But once this guy, whether it be Tyson Fury or Usyk, gets all the belts, we plan on breaking them all up again, because that's what's going to happen, And another bit of news is Bivol and Gilberto Ramirez are going to be facing off on November 5th on DAZN. That's a good fight. I like that fight.
I'm excited about that. I watched that presser today on DAZN. And I'm looking for, even that fight is another, the top guys fighting each other. I think that that's going to be an exciting one. And I'm so looking forward to Golovkin Canelo 3. I hope that this is becoming the bad blood that it is. Canelo is just, there's a nastiness in him. And I think maybe this means even more because of the loss to Bivol.
I think you're right about that, because I think that if he didn't have something mentally to prove to everyone, I don't think he could get up for Triple G.
It would be
Because
much harder.
we're not going to see the same Triple G. I would give Triple G all the credit in the world if he makes this as exciting as the other two at 40 years old. I mean, I'm pulling for him too. I always will. Anyway, one other.
I think it's going to be extremely. I think when they go at it, I think we're going to see action from round one.
I think that
this is the kind of fight that maybe we might get a Hagler Hearns first round.
I don't know. I don't know, because Canelo has gotten so much bigger. I mean, everybody said how big Triple G was, even when there was talk about possibly what's his face? Who's that guy? Oh yeah, Floyd Mayweather. When everybody wanted him to fight Triple G, and you'd hear, "Oh no, Triple G is too big. He's a giant middleweight." He's not. Iran Barkley was a giant middleweight. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, Triple G wasn't, but Canelo has gotten bigger. He's fought in bigger guys. And let's face it, Triple G's kryptonite is the body punching, and I think this fight's going to end with a savage body shot. How do you improve? You can only do so many sit-ups, and he never looked like he was soft in the midsection. He's just, one other fight that I am looking forward to because of the return, but Vasily Lomachenko against Jermaine Ortiz. That fight's going to be happening in the fall as well. So we got some decent fights coming up. So let's talk about the one for this weekend. It's a heavyweight fight. Luis Ortiz against Andy Ruiz Jr. I'll just break down real quick, and you can give me your opinion on the fight. Actually, if you want to go first, I mean, I'll be glad to, but if you want to go first, go ahead.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for your opinion. Now I will give no. Go ahead.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't want to get too excited about this one because I don't want to end up buying it.
It's a good matchup, though.
It really is, and I think that the only reason I don't want to buy it is not that it's not worth it; it's that I can't afford it. I've just been doing just crazy spending.
Why? Everything's so cheap. Why are you spending? Everything's so cheap out there. You buy a package of hamburgers, you make two hamburgers. You make two hamburgers out of a package, and you're paying $9.50. I mean, what it used to be $3. It's crazy.
But yeah, I do think that it's going to be. I think they could match up well, especially because Ortiz now is at the point in his career where he's faded a bit, and I think he's a little more willing to exchange. I think the hand speed of Ruiz is usually in entertaining fights. I mean, the Areola fight became a pretty exciting fight. The fight where at least when he's in shape and motivated, I think the second Joshua fight was dull.
Well, Joshua helped to make it dull by fighting so safe. And, you could say what you want about Ruiz not coming in shape, but come on, the guy he never was a chiseled fighter, you know, and he throws a lot of punches.
And from what I've seen in the videos of training camp, he does look slim down, and that is likely to mean, his cardio is that much better. So he's more likely to have an increased volume of punches, which at this point, I think he might be able to stop Ortiz, even though Ortiz, is certainly, of course, Deontay Wilder dynamited him, but Deontay Wilder hits ridiculously, inhumanly hard. Ruiz is more of is a speedy, he definitely hits hard, but not like Wilder. So I think he could stop him, and I think it'll be more from wearing him down, tiring him out, late round stoppage.
All right, so I look at this fight, and I look at Andy Ruiz. He's 34 wins, 22 of them coming by knockout. He's got 2 losses. He's never been stopped. He's a durable fighter. He's been down, but he's never been stopped. His two losses, Anthony Joshua when he won the title, and Joseph Parker, which many people feel he got robbed in that fight. He's 32 years old. He's had 36 total fights, 175 rounds, 6'2", 74-inch reach, former world champion. He did beat Anthony Joshua via a 7th round stoppage in June of 2019 to win the title. 6 months later, he lost the fight in what you were just referencing to. It was not an exciting fight. AJ was fighting safe, and Andy Ruiz was fighting like he was thinking about what he was going to do after the fight and wasn't paying attention. His last fight was a 12-round decision win over Chris Arreola in an entertaining fight. His best wins as a pro, I believe, were against Chris Arreola and Anthony Joshua, and you could sprinkle in Dimitrenko there. He fought some decent opposition, but no, top guys. But that, I don't know if it's his fault, So I give him credit. He does have hand speed, and his punch output is pretty good. As far as Luis Ortiz, he's listed at 43. He's one of these fighters, Alex, that we really don't know. I mean, he could be 60 for all we know, but assuming that he's 43, he's 6'4". He's got a 2-inch height advantage, and he's got a 4-inch reach advantage at 78 inches. Believe it or not, he's actually fought less rounds as a pro, 168. And he's got one more fight as a pro. His record is 33 wins with 28 coming by knockout. And he has the 2 losses, both by at the hands of Deontay Wilder, and both were stoppage. He's got some good wins. And when you look at his record over the last 8 to 10 years, I mean, that's how you got to look at Luis Ortiz. He does have some wins over some ranked fighters at the time he fought him. A big one was against Bryant Jennings. He also beat Christian Hammer, who was regarded as a top contender at the time. And another guy that he beat that was on his way up, even though he was coddled, was Travis Kaufman. So, I mean, he does have some decent wins under his belt, and the fights against Wilder were both extremely entertaining fights. And the one fight, he had Wilder in all kinds of trouble, couldn't finish him off. His last fight was in January, a 6-round knockout over Charles Martin,
which was a good fight.
Yeah, it was a good fight. I think that the equalizer here in this fight, Andy Ruiz, hand speed, punch output, right? It's got much more going for him in terms of future. All right. I do believe that the winner of this fight is going to get a title shot for one of the belts that gets split up after the Usyk Fury fight. I think the equalizer is going to be Luis Ortiz's counter punching ability, which he does extremely well. The question is what you brought up. Is the age going to finally catch up with him? When athletes get, super athletes like these guys, when they get to that age, their mind tells them to do something. Their body is a step behind. And, with the hand speed of Ruiz, and assuming he is in good shape. And, one thing I will say, you can't go by the weight of Andy Ruiz. When people look at him and say, oh, he looks good, he's coming in a little, slimmer. That was what was blamed on the fight against Anthony Joshua, that he lost, that he didn't have the same pop behind his punches and stuff. So, I mean, it is what it is. If the guy comes in at what other people call heavy, and he still can punch nonstop for 12 rounds, I mean, the guy's in shape. I mean, forget about what his body looks like, It's a tough one for me to pick. I do have a feeling it's going to go the distance. And I think it's going to be, the determination of who's going to win this fight is going to go on, obviously, landed punches and punch output, which favors Andy Ruiz. I think Andy Ruiz is going to squeak this fight out with a decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if Luis Ortiz lands one of these, knockout punches that comes from nowhere, with Ruiz, delivering some punches not seeing a punch coming back or not expecting a counter punch from Luis Ortiz. And if he lands it on the button, and if he can do it a couple of times and keep Ruiz down, I think he could win. So basically, I think if it goes the distance, Ruiz is going to get the win. If there's a stoppage, I think Ortiz is going to be the guy who stops. So, I mean, that's what I'm thinking on this fight, Alex.
Nice. Yeah, I think it could be definitely a good one. And I do think that because that was one of the things that we saw in the Charles Martin fight is that Martin had Ortiz on the deck early. And so, you know, you can't, at this stage in his career, you can hurt him, but he's always dangerous. And he came back and put Martin out. So, well, that there were some people were a little upset with that stoppage, but I thought it was okay. I mean, he turned his back.
You know what? We witnessed a couple of fights recently when fighters turn their back. I mean, there's nothing to complain about if the ref waves it off. You know, I mean, that's, you know, whatever, you know, but
yeah, you're saying I'm not ready, and it's like, oh, you're not ready, then you lost.
Yeah, well, they can't. Time out. I need to catch my breath. You mind if I go grab a drink of water?
Right.
You know, but
somebody else step in for me just for a second. Well, and that was the ultimate test of that is that it's an individual sport. Was again in the Zhang fight a couple of weeks ago. The fact that he drinks 5 gallons of water and didn't in a 12-round fight didn't have to say, "Look, I got to take a leak."
No, I know.
Right back.
I have to go to the bathroom 15 times a night. What are you talking? I don't know how he did it.
Yeah, that was like 45 minutes. He didn't have to go to the bathroom.
I'll tell you,
5 gallons of water. How did he do it?
But that fight, there a couple of times they could have Philip could have been called. He turned his back several times on that fight, if you recall, and he was walking around like he was
in around.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I got an email I'm going to read a little bit later. Or no, actually, it was an email I was going back and forth to saying that, you know, he didn't fight well because he wasn't getting fights. So he did that on purpose. I'm saying, I don't know, man. I think he might be a little overrated. I didn't see nothing that impressed me with him, to be honest. I was more impressed with Zhang, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I think it was that kind of a really big learning experience from him because now we'll see he realized, wow, I'm lucky to walk away with a victory here. I have a lot to learn and can get better. And we'll see if he does. If he doesn't, you know, then it's one of those. It was an important test because you're right. I think it was Zhang that was more impressive.
I thought so. You know, I mean, the truth of the matter is what's missing in boxing is defense. You rarely see head movement anymore. You know, you got some fighters that you know utilize a counter punch, but I don't know. Zhang showed that he had defense. He was hard to hit. He saw the punches coming. You know, how did you pronounce it?
Ergovic.
Ergovic was a guy that took a lot of shots, and he had virtually no defense, and his face was right there. Yeah. You know, I mean, he looked good. He was in good shape. He did fight in spurts, but
yeah, it was anyway, like two great big dinosaurs. It seemed like.
I know, and didn't they break Ruiz's punch output record?
I thought they did. Yeah, I thought. Well, was it that fight that did? I don't know about that because
it was a heavyweight fight.
They fought in slow motion. I thought that the knockout, that scary knockout, was pretty remarkable. And if you know, one of the things I thought was interesting was Joe Tessitore was going on about he's going to the hospital, and I was like, hey, Joe, maybe you shouldn't be saying that because I have a feeling that guy's going to do everything he can to not go to the hospital. And then when they did an update, they were like, the commission strongly recommend, he's still in the locker room, and the commission strongly recommends he go to the hospital because he has a flight scheduled for the morning. So to me, it was like, yeah, so Joe was making it sound like, oh, don't worry, medical attention will be given. And I was like, I don't know if he should be saying that, because at this point, he can't guarantee that. He's sitting ringside. He doesn't know what they're saying to that guy. And
nothing was worse than the heavyweight that fought in New York. He ended up going in
Abdul Salamov.
And the New York Commission told him to take a cab. Remember, they didn't.
Right.
They wouldn't give him the ambulance for some reason. They said, "Yeah, your best bet is to go get a cab," and the guy until he collapsed, and that was the end of that.
Right.
But, yeah, that was horrific. But speaking of horrific, Deontay Wilder's back in the scene, and he's going to be fighting October 15th against Robert Helenas. I don't know if we're going to see any improvements from Wilder. It would be nice to see some improvements. And, the guy is, like you just mentioned a few moments ago. I mean, he's got, the punching power is freakish, especially for a guy that, he's not that big in terms of, he's tall, but he's not, he's a thin guy, but man, does he have freakish punching power. And we're going to see it against Helenas.
Oh, yes.
Helenas stands right there. And talk about a dinosaur, this fight will not go that long.
Nope.
And it's another one of the PBC pay-per-views from Brooklyn.
Oh.
I just don't understand who's going to pay for that. I guess we're going to have to, but if I'm a fan, why would you want to pay for it? What's going to happen, and you'll be able to watch the best of the best highlights on YouTube about 15 minutes after.
It's so ridiculous.
So, come on, you just keep it off. Find out when it's over. Don't even know the results and watch it on YouTube. I hate to say it, but
Yeah, seriously, within 15. Actually, that fight I'm tempted to watch, because that is going to be fun. That's definitely going to be just a shootout, a sloppy, big punching, winging bombs
by one guy. Helenas is.
I think Helenas will try too, because remember when he caught Kanaski, that fight was exciting.
Yeah, but wait,
and I think that he knows that's his only chance.
But he's never going to
Wilder coming in.
But Wilder, the thing about Wilder, because he doesn't know how to fight. Listen, Wilder has nothing except a powerful punch. He's got no footwork, no jab, no movement, nothing. But as crazy as he wings his punches, they're hard to see, and they're hard to assume where they're going to come from. And that's an advantage for Deontay Wilder. And Helenas, listen, you want to see how the fight's going to go to the local boxing gym and check out a heavy bag and draw Helenas' face on the heavy bag and then just hit it, because that's what's going to happen. Deontay Wilder is going to pound the living shit out of Robert Helenas. Helenas will not go 5 rounds. This fight won't go. Deontay might want to last a round. I don't know. If I know Deontay Wilder the way I think I do, he's going to take this guy out in 1 round and be.
I wonder what the over/under will be.
It can't be more than. I don't know. I'd say 3 minutes. Come on. If Helenas could stay in there for 5 rounds, I'd be impressed. He doesn't have a chin. He doesn't have skill.
He's got the things working against him is that he doesn't have the greatest chin, and at least I don't know, he's questionable, and he's hittable.
Hittable. He has no defense.
Yeah,
he stands right in front of you. That's the Kaznaki fight was entertaining because that's what they both did. They both stand in front of you, and I think we've learned that Kaznaki, he's a fan favorite. But he doesn't know the D word either, defense. Yeah. He takes 1,000,000 shots, so, and he just can't physically take it anymore, So, hey, I have some non-boxing thoughts.
Uh-oh.
Do you want to hear them? I have this week's non-boxing observations. All right. So I'll start off with this. Social media, right? Social media has made us antisocial. Think about that. No one talks to anyone anymore. They text, right? It's easier to text. Like they don't even call on the phone. They text, right? Because it's I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's less confrontational. You can't really yell and scream via a text. I mean, you could caps and do all of that.
Quick. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people, I'm not even going to mention, but my own family members sitting on my couch next to each other texting. Okay. like you can't freaking talk to each other. I mean, you're texting, you're sitting right next to each other. I know, okay. If you want to text somebody and you're upstairs and they're downstairs, okay, I'll give you that, right? But I mean, sitting next to each other, it's crazy. But it's done more than that, Alex. Our world has become a huge acronym. Think about that. A
BRB.
All right. Right. But it used to be like, back in the day, basic acronyms, right? Like FYI. That was a good one, right? For your information. People use that. It was easy, right? Sports, NFL, National Football League, baseball, Major League Baseball, right? MLB. Simple. But then things started to change. It started with LOL. Laugh out loud. That was the beginning. Then that grew to LMAO. Laugh my ass off. Okay. Then we evolved to SMH. Shake my head. And then the other version, of course, SMFH.
Yeah.
Shake my fucking head. Right. This was all okay until I had one of my employees call me. Right. And he calls me and he leaves me a voicemail. And the voicemail says, "Hey, Bill, INCIT," and hung up. I was like, what the fuck is that? What do you mean incite, right? So I call him and I go, what was that message about? He goes, what? I go, the message. You said incite. He says, that? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, it means I'm not coming in today. I said, what? He says, INCIT, I'm not coming in today. I said, and you know what I said to him? AYFKM. And he goes, what? And I go, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, come on, right? And then some of the other ones I've heard, TLTR. That's too long to read. That's an email. TLTR. What, did you get my email? Yeah, it was too long to read.
Wow, that's obnoxious.
Or how about the NTTR? The NTTR. I got no time to respond. No time to respond. Wow. Right?
No time to respond.
I like one. How about HA? How about HHAYD? How about that one? HHAYD. Hey, how you doing?
Hey,
you know what? The bottom line is you just turn everybody and go LMAA. It's like, what? Leave me alone, asshole. I mean, come on. But I got to tell you, this is God's honest truth. This is a true story. About 10 or 12 years ago, I was asked to bid an IT job. It was for a radio station in Albany, New York. All right. So I go in there and they're paying me for this solution, right? Or I was bidding on it. And during the whole process and this meeting and I was in a meeting and there was 4 or 5 other people there. They kept referring to this as IBR this, IBR that, IBR this, and I'm sitting there and finally I'm in this meeting and I said, look, I know you guys are looking to me to quote this job for IBR. I said, but I got to be honest with you. What the hell is an IBR, right? They all looked at each other and they said, we don't know. So, I mean, and I swear to God, that's a true story. They were asking, somebody threw an acronym at them, IBR. They didn't understand it. And it carried all the way to me with the quote process. And I finally had to say, because I didn't want to lose my ass in a quote or something, and I was like, what is it? They didn't even know. So it just goes to show you, acronyms. Yeah, maybe they help a little, but it's becoming pretty outrageous, Alex.
Yeah, we at least have to know that we agree we're using the same one. And you're right. There's a lot of them, especially on social media, that I have to look up because I'm like, I don't know what that is, and I'll Google it. And then sometimes there's multiple choices, and then it's like they couldn't have meant that one.
I know. I know. That's my whole point. My point is people have become so lazy, and in the texting world, it's easier to use an acronym, right? Because you don't have to type the whole sentence out. But like you just said, unless the other side knows what the hell you're talking about, you could take it many different ways. Different ways.
Like one of the ones I like is ICYMI, in case you missed it. The one that you see, what is it? Thanks for the invite. TFTI. Thanks for the invite. So sometimes they're worth using, but yeah, they're all flippant and they can be obnoxious.
Alex.
But I got to say, Bill, I know somebody who uses the LOL a lot.
Because you send me funny stuff.
If you're genuinely LOLing, then I appreciate it.
Well, sometimes I'm LMAOing.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's great.
I'll from now on, I'll just give you the thumbs up. All right. Come on.
Well, if it's a genuine LOL,
yeah, it is a genuine LOL.
Appreciate that.
Okay. I mean, come on. I wouldn't lie to you. If it wasn't an honest LOL, I wouldn't say anything.
Oh, right? Good. You're not. You don't use those haphazardly.
No. Listen, if you can't have something nice to say about Floyd Mayweather, just don't say it. But hey, speaking of that, I got an email from my man Morgan, and the title of it was "Sore Loser," and he says, "Billy C, why didn't the Zone show Anthony Joshua taking the belts from Usyk and tossing him outside the ring? Then he tries to start a fight with Usyk. The boxing media is trying to sweep this under the rug. AJ has always represented himself with class. Now I'm wondering if it's all fake. He looked like an ass." And he says, on another note, could you tell me what's the difference between... All right, I'll get to that in a second. But, I didn't watch that because we did the post-fight show right away. So I didn't see it, but I did read about it, and he did apologize afterwards. But I think the problem with AJ in that fight was that he really legitimately tried to, improve his game and stuff, and this is where we have to give Usyk the credit of just countering it and keeping him at bay. But I also believe, Alex, that by one of the judges actually scoring the fight for Anthony Joshua might have made him think that he was robbed or he should have won or whatever, because I thought that score was out of whack, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think, and that's the thing about it, is that it does bring up a few things. See, I agree with you, or I'm in the same circumstance in that I didn't see it live. So I wasn't, because we did the show. So I came over here and can't remember if I turned the TV off or not, but I wasn't paying attention. And if they weren't showing it, then that's, that does add to it. I heard someone say that they interviewed Joshua first, which that also could have fueled his idea that, he might have been robbed, but I don't know if that's easy enough to check. I don't know if that was the case. I did see someone, and I'm sorry, I don't remember what their Twitter handle is. If you go to my Twitter feed, I retweeted it so you could see it there, but somebody did a really good breakdown of it from a camera that was outside of the ring that sort of tracked Joshua, and they did a voiceover with their sort of analysis of it. And I thought they were actually right on in the way they described what was going on in his head. To me, it was sort of interesting, Bill, because it almost was like he was channeling Mike Tyson, because he had that intensity. There was a moment where somebody was restraining him. like he was going to go after somebody.
He should have did that during the fight.
Yeah, and I think that it really, I'm glad that he apologized, because when I watched it, yes, it was distasteful. There is a great quote where he, all those crazy rants always end up having something, where in this world of social media, it's like, okay, that's going to be immortal now. And he says something, he drops an F-bomb talking about, oh yeah, you don't throw combinations like Rocky Ray Marciano. And he's like, well, that motherfucker was 14 stone.
He was saying how big he is. He goes, I'm a big guy. And it was kind of like he was making excuses. I read that.
Absolutely.
Kind of making excuses that he was too big to throw that many punches.
Right. And I think that's why I'm glad he did apologize. I think it's very cool how that Usyk kept his cool, because there was a moment where he even took the Ukrainian flag from him, and that could have gotten, if that was an American, that would have gotten dicey, because we get a little nutsy about
But when he took the flag, he was trying to show unity, I thought.
Yeah, but then he like went too far, and it was like, dude, you lost, and you don't really have the right to be carrying that. And yeah, it's, I don't know.
That's when the team needs to pull him out of the ring.
Yeah, and well, that's what this person on Twitter kept saying, was that it was very clear that was the most glaring thing. He was not happy with his team. He didn't want to talk to them at all, and not one member of them had his ear to say, "Hey, Anthony, tone it down." Yeah, and not only that, it's the fact that they gave him the mic, or they let him have the mic, and then nobody took it away. I don't know. You're right. There is almost sort of like a condoning the behavior, but I think that in terms of, whether boxing accepts it or not, he did apologize. So I think he made right in that sense. The fact that DAZN, didn't have a camera covering it, I guess they were trying to cover up.
That wasn't one of their better broadcasts. The broadcast team wasn't that good. But boxing has a way of forgiving people. I mean, people love Mike Tyson, and come on, he bit Evander ears off. He bit Evander Holyfield's ear off and spit it on the canvas. I mean, Mills Lane. I'll never forget the look on Mills Lane's face. And when he saw it, then when we saw the replay, the way he kind of gobbled it up and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And remember, I mean, that's the thing about boxing, is that it wasn't that he bit him. It was that he bit him again.
I know. Everything would have been forgotten. But hey, it's not like people have the Mike Tyson laying on the canvas after Kevin McBride knocked him out on their wall or anything.
I know who would do
what dastardly villain would do something like that.
How could someone stomach
someone that's just pure evil?
Pure with the blackest heart.
Yeah. But listen, Morgan had one other thing. He says, on another note, could you tell me what the difference between a technical draw and a no contest is? I've seen fights stop before 4 rounds and announced as a technical draw. Isn't this a no contest? Well, first of all, a fight, depending upon the commission, they become official after 4 rounds. So if a fight was stopped due to a cut, it would be considered a no decision, not a no contest, right? I mean, and a technical draw would be a fight that was stopped because of a cut, and it was even at the time of the stoppage.
Right.
A no contest is generally when someone tests positive for steroids or something was not, maybe if it doesn't go to 4 rounds, it is a no contest.
It could be. I think the only thing that I could think of that maybe if 4 rounds hadn't been complete, I think sometimes that's the way the wording is, because that means that you have to, because I've seen that where
the fight's not official, but if it's a 4-round fight, see, I could see where if he was watching a 4-round fight and in the second round they butt heads, the head in an unintentional headbutt, made so a fighter couldn't continue. I could see that being a technical draw or a technical decision if one guy won it, if it was a scheduled 4-round fight. But if it was a fight that was 8, 10, 12 rounds, and the rule is it's not official until 4 rounds are completed, then I believe it is considered a no contest. If the fight was stopped due to a cut, unintentional cut, that's a no contest if it didn't get to 4 rounds.
Or I think the other thing, not only a cut, but if it was especially would have to be
low blow or something.
But would be like say somebody turned they hyperextended their knee or something, they slipped.
No.
That would be
that is a knockout, because Usheen Fagan, I'll never forget it. He was on the show a bunch of times. He hurt himself. I think it might have been against Amir Khan. I forget who his opponent was, and he dislocated his knee standing up in the stool.
Yeah, you're right.
And that was considered a knockout.
Huh.
Couldn't continue, and it was a knockout.
Yeah, wasn't there a recent example of that too? And it was a knockout.
I think if you hurt yourself, somehow, you can't continue. It's a knockout. It's a TKO.
Right.
But anyway, well, boys and girls, we're glad that you joined us today. As you could tell, we will not be doing a post Ruiz Ortiz fight, but we will give you our post fight thoughts next week, next Wednesday. So glad you could join us.
We can do is next weekend Canelo, or do we have 2 weekends in a row?
I think it's 2 weeks. Isn't it the 17th?
17th. Okay.
Yeah. So we will definitely be doing a preview of Canelo Triple G, and then of course a live post fight show after that one. But first things first, you got Luis Ortiz battling Andy Ruiz Jr. In a pay-per-view, which shouldn't be, on Sunday, which also shouldn't be. So we will be giving you our thoughts on Wednesday. Woo, we're confusing everybody. But anyway, I'm confused. But anyway, make sure you tune in next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.